Today's episode is brought to you by the Twisted Fork. Eat, drink, and enjoy. Bill Kinney, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kurt.
I'm very happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
I consider you to be a mover and a shaker on the Florida scene.
I wish that was true.
No, you're a very influential guy. There's no doubt. Now, you are the owner-operator of Paragon Seafood Festivals.
No, Paragon Festivals.
Okay. Paragon Festivals.
Right. So we do reggae festivals, seafood festivals, blues festivals, fine art festivals.
Okay. Gotcha. So it's not just limited to seafood.
No.
Fantastic. Now, these are great festivals. I mean, I personally have performed and I've also attended as a guest. It's incredible seafood at some of those seafood festivals, right?
Well, I'm glad you say so.
I think so. I mean, I love lobster rolls, man. And
Cool.
where else can you get a really good, authentic lobster roll?
Paragon Seafood Festivals.
That's it. Now, you're a New Yorker. So
I
you're
am.
a fellow New Yorker, and you're also from Brooklyn.
Are you from New York?
I'm from New York. I'm from New Rochelle, which is Westchester
Oh, New
County.
Rochelle. That was a big mob area.
Was it really?
Rochelle. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So it was the fictitious home, I think, of Dick Van Dyke. Wasn't when that show came out, they were from New Rochelle, but
could have been. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they showed a house that really existed.
Did you come from an affluent family?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, because there was big money up there. People, the movers and shakers, as you put it, lived in New Rochelle.
Because you know why? Because it was a short commute into Manhattan.
It was.
We would take Metro North. Right?
There's some beautiful homes there. On
the New Haven line would just rock it down, from Connecticut, rock it down like Rye, like Mamaroneck, Larchmont, New Rochelle, and they get you right into 125th and then right into Grand Central.
We used to do events up there in Westchester.
Yeah. Do you remember Rye Playland?
Of course. When I was a kid, you grew up in Brooklyn, you got on the Circle Line ferry, right? And we had the nuns, so I went to Catholic school, and you would go up to Rye Playland, spend the day up
Rye
there.
Playland was fantastic. That was my playground when I was a kid too.
Well, that's great that you grew up there.
The parents would give you money and you buy those little chit things for the rides and you just run around and go on the rides.
Well, you had a good time then, good memories as a kid.
Westchester County was a wonderful place to grow up.
Yes, it was.
Did
you inherit a lot of money?
I want to say yes, but not really.
I'm only kidding.
But the point is that I was able to go, speaking of music, right? I was able, when I got older, to go down to Manhattan and see some incredible music when I was a kid, right? And I loved that. The access that I had to Manhattan was incredible.
Well, I had the same thing living in Brooklyn and then Long Island. So everything was happening there.
Now, my brother-in-law tells me that growing up in Brooklyn in the 60s and 70s was fantastic.
It was unbelievable.
He's a Brooklyn guy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what it's like now. I mean, I would have no idea what it's like now. I mean, you probably would, right? You go back.
Well, my son lives there. He lives in Williamsburg, but everything has been urbanized and it's a lot of money to live in Brooklyn.
But isn't it funny, Bill, how a lot of famous people, like there's a list of people that came out of Brooklyn, like Larry King. I mean, it goes on and on and on of all these famous people.
A lot of people.
But they came at the 50s and 60s. It was like a breeding ground for successful people that made it in Hollywood.
Well,
also.
you go back even further, but it was a breeding ground because you had these ethnic communities, the Jewish communities, the Italian communities, and a lot of the entertainers, especially the comedians, were Jewish. Mel Brooks, George Jessel. I mean, there were tons of them. And they all came from Brooklyn.
So it was a creative hotbed, and people came and went on to wonderful careers.
They went into vaudeville primarily in the beginning. But it was a hotbed.
And also, every time I think of Brooklyn, I think of food. I think of pizza. I think of bagels, right?
Well, you do follow me on Facebook?
I think of Jewish food, right? Matzo ball soup.
Matzo ball soup. Do you follow me on Facebook? Yeah, so it's an eating journey. I eat my way through.
It's incredible though, because living here now, you live in Sarasota area, so do I. What do you do? Like if you're craving a bagel, if you're craving pizza, like where do you go around here?
I have people overnight it to me
For
from
real?
New York. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they'll overnight me bagels, and the cream cheese is the same. I get lox from Whole Foods. Red onion and capers.
Yeah, I remember a place in Manhattan called H&H Bagels.
Yeah, they're famous. They're still there, I think, aren't they?
But we would drink all night, and then at 4 o'clock in the morning on the way back to Westchester, we'd go get our bagels.
4 o'clock? We weren't even in 4 o'clock. That was an early night.
I know.
If you lived in the city.
Isn't that crazy, man?
It is. You're in the diner, Yeah,
The diner, all those Greek diners, man. That was a big thing in the 70s. Greek diners.
Diners were great, man. I would hang out. I used to hang out in this jazz club called Sonny's Place, and everybody used to come in there. I mean, one night I'm hanging out with Sarah Vaughan, just like, I had enough, Sarah. I had enough. I mean, Sarah Vaughan is one of the greatest vocalists of all times. Sure. And here you are telling her, I'm leaving. I'm going to the diner. And she's telling you stories about her exploits and
well, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is what I want to talk about. We're going to talk about how you met all these famous people. We're going to talk about your journey, like how you got into the music business, right? So let's go back to time. So you're a kid, you're listening to music, right? What were you listening to back then?
Well, what happened, I grew up in Brooklyn. My uncle was 14 years older than me, and he lived upstairs with my grandmother. So I'm probably 4 years old at the time, and he would have girls over and other guys, and they'd be downstairs in the basement, which was finished, and they were dancing. And I would hear Frank Sinatra, the Platters, and I would sit at the top of the steps just listening to the music because I absolutely loved it. And then as I got older, living in Brooklyn, the Fillmore was close. And if I couldn't get tickets to the Fillmore, my buddy and I would go and sit around at the stage door, and we could hear and we've done this numerous times. We heard The Who, and we heard, I remember we just stayed there for one song, but it was Light a Shade of Pale, right, by Procol Harum. And it was great, and
you were there at the right time, dude.
I was there at the right time. And, I went to Woodstock.
No shit.
When I was 17. Yeah. My mother forbid me from going, but I went,
which was right for a mother to do.
Yeah. She goes, you're not going. I said, okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mom. And then she made me go join the service because I was so rebellious. And then I ended up in Vietnam.
No shit.
Yeah. So it was, I took that whole journey, that 60s journey.
Well, people will say that their era is the best era. So people that will say the 60s was the best era for music. Some people might say the 70s. There are people that say the 80s. In your opinion, like, what was the greatest music, you think?
The greatest music?
Late 60s?
It would have to be the late 60s, early 70s. Absolutely.
I think 1973 was the greatest year for like records that came out, like Elton John.
I think 69. I mean, you had Chicago and Cream, Jimi Hendrix. All this stuff was happening. The Doors were still there. I mean, there was just so much. It was a plethora of music.
When you were little, were you a Beatles guy? Like, did you get bit by the Beatles bug? Like,
yeah, but we were playing the air guitar, my friends and I, we were pretending we were the Beatles.
Like Hard Day Night and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I got older, I thought, the Beatles, the Stones. And then the Beatles did Sgt. Pepper, and that changed everything.
That changed the game.
Yeah. And then, the same thing with the Beach Boys. It was like, oh, the Beach Boys. And then they did Pet Sounds.
Which God only knows might be the greatest, according to Rick Beato, might be the greatest rock and roll song ever written.
Possibly. I believe that the Beatles felt that too. It was a great song. It was a great album. I listened to it all the time.
I got into Led Zeppelin when I was a kid. I remember Led Zeppelin 2 was the first experience. I put that record on. I was transformed, man. Whole lot of love.
Communication Breakdown. I remember I went out and bought it. I would just buy albums as they were coming in because there was so much stuff coming in. Santana, and it was all good, right? And I remember buying that album and playing it at my friend's house, and I heard Communication Breakdown. I'm like, what is this? And when I was at Woodstock, they said there was going to be a special guest, and everyone's going, it's going to be Bob Dylan. It's going to be this guy. And I said, oh, please let it be Led Zeppelin.
Can you imagine that?
I've never seen Led Zeppelin, though. That's one of the few bands.
I guess I never did either, right? A lot of people haven't.
Yeah, but they electrified the stage. I remember reading something that Jeff Beck wrote once, that he couldn't compete with those riffs, right? Because he was on stage, and then Jimmy Page comes in, and it's just like, he just stood back like, okay.
There's a special on becoming Led Zeppelin or something, or being Led Zeppelin. I saw it recently. So it talks about their early days and how they got together. It's brilliant.
Well, I don't know if Dana told you, Dana Lawrence from Kettle of Fish, he was playing at Scob, and he felt this, he had this uncomfortable feeling, and he turned around and Robert Plant was there watching him.
Wow.
You know, he was on the island.
Yeah. He lives not too far from there.
Does he have a place
Yeah,
there?
he goes to this Italian restaurant called Brigandi's. I was in there one night. This is years ago, and someone said, "Oh, you just missed Robert Plant was here." I go, "You kidding me? Like this little shithole?"
No, Gary, you know, ask Gary. Ask Gary. He said, "But you know who that is?" I said, "Yeah, that's Robert Plant." He goes, "He was drinking here at the Crescent Club."
No kidding.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to go up to a guy like that, but you know what?
But see, that's the problem. You can't be intrusive.
No,
right?
I'd be respectful, but at the same time,
But how do you be respectful without moving in his space?
I would wait for the opportunity, and then I'd say, "Mr. Plant, may I get a picture with you?"
Okay, so that's intrusive. So
I guess you're right.
So the two things, I'll tell you a story. So I'm with Steve Winwood one night, okay? And Winwood and I are very cool. 15 minutes we're talking. I'm like, and I'm in my head, I'm like, I'm with Steve Winwood. This is Traffic. This is Blind Faith.
Yeah, man.
And he just came out with that album, High. What was it? High Heat.
Higher, back in the high life again.
Back in the High Life again, right? So it was like, here, you know, I'm hanging out with this dude, man. And I asked him, and he was cool with me. And I said, "Can I have your autograph?" It was over. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So you learned.
So my son went out to dinner with, we always had people at the house. There were always people at the house. And I always told them, I said, "Don't ask for an autograph. Don't, you know," they were bouncing him. I had Roy Haynes. I don't know if you know who Roy Haynes is.
No.
Roy was a jazz drummer, possibly the greatest drummer of all times, has 14 Grammy wins, won the Kennedy Center Lifetime Achievement Award, played with Charlie Parker, Miles Davis. Wow. He was always at my house bouncing my son on his knee. I don't even know, why did I bring up Roy for?
Well, we're talking about celebrities. We're talking about how you shouldn't, you know, get in their space. Like, you know, like I'd be tempted to want to see Robert Plant, but at the same time, to your point, I wouldn't bother him if he's eating dinner. You know, I'm not going to like.
Yeah, but people do. I can be talking to somebody now, even now. There was someone local. There was a local celebrity I was talking to.
Brian Johnson, you know him?
I'm not going to say who it was. Okay, so I was talking to a local celebrity. Actually, Brian Johnson, someone took a picture and sent it to me. I was talking to Brian Johnson on an occasion, and I looked at my phone, and there was a picture of me talking to Brian. And his wife said, "Please don't post that." I said, "I don't post this stuff." But he's a really nice guy. Brian he's a regular guy, and he's friends with Greg Billings. You know Greg.
Sure.
But you don't see, if you look at Greg Billings' Facebook page, and I'm pretty sure, I haven't done this, but I guarantee you're not going to see pictures of him and Brian, and they are very close.
Okay.
You know, so
I understand.
But again, you don't want to be intrusive. You don't want to ask for an autograph. You don't want to ask for a picture. And I see people doing that all the time, because then you can move in their circle. You can move with them. They'll accept you as long as you don't violate that space,
sure.
As long as you don't become intrusive. Once you become intrusive, you now become a fan. You're an outsider.
So I've had a lot of guests on this show, and you know most of them. Like Billy Rice is a great example.
Billy's an unbelievable guy.
Great guy, great musician.
But my wife passed away, and I wrote something online. I wrote a story called The Yellow Dress, and Billy called me up crying, literally crying, and said he had never read anything so deep regarding love. And when I chartered a schooner, which we do every year, and I drop flowers, where I actually had the coordinates tattooed on my arm.
No shit.
Where I drop my wife's ashes. And we go every year. But Billy came, and there was a song. I forget. God, I even forget. This is the problem with getting old. You
one of his songs?
No, but he went and learned the song.
He's got good stuff, man. His original stuff's good.
Bill, I can't listen to Billy. Billy knows it, okay? Because grief is still close for me, but Billy at that memorial, he set the tone. He played nonstop during the memorial, and which I truly appreciate. He's a good guy.
Yeah, no,
I talk to him all the time. Yeah,
I love that guy.
And he had the opportunity to grab fame, and he had to make a decision: do I take the chance on fame, or do I build a business and secure the financial security for my kids? He made the choice.
You made the right choice.
I don't know what the right choice is.
I think that you can always be famous, man. I mean, I think that fame is just
no, you can't. If fame is
there's
fleeting.
local fame, there's national fame, there's worldwide fame, right? I mean, I think he's a local hero.
Probably, he probably is. But this is just a little speck. This is a little place. That's like, people say, oh, Paragon Festivals, you're huge. Man, dude, I'm a big fish in a very small pond.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, come on. You got Live Nation. You have all these people.
Yeah.
I'm a nobody.
Hey,
I move people.
Let's go back to before you met all these people. Like, how did you get into the industry? I guess that's the right question.
Well, first of all, you don't get into the industry. If you're in New York, and basically all the major cities were mob controlled, so you couldn't get in. And like in New York, it was Ron Delsner. Long Island.
I remember Ron Delsner.
It was
and
filled.
Bill Graham was L.A., right? Wasn't he?
Bill Graham was L.A., and in fact, I had a table at Magique, a nightclub in the city.
I've heard of it.
Right, and so at my table, I had Roy Haynes, the drummer, Dizzy Gillespie, Tito Puente, Professor Corey, the comedian, and who else was there? There was someone else there. Did I say Christopher Reeves?
No.
Christopher Reeves, the Superman fame. And the next table over was Bill Graham. And I was working on this big deal, right? And I'm like, oh, that's Bill Graham. That's my idol. I had read Rolling Stone from when I was a kid. I used to read all his quotes. I mean, I could quote this guy. This was the guy I wanted to emulate. And so he got up and I got up and I said, Mr. Graham, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Bill Kinney. And he said, it's nice to meet you. I said, I'd like you to be involved in a deal I'm doing. And he goes, you have Roy Radin on that deal. Blew my mind. He knew about something I was working on.
He's a smart guy.
Okay. Yeah, he was a brilliant guy. So he goes, what do you need me for? I said, I can't get the Rolling Stones. I had a big festival I was doing. So he said, let's go get a drink. One drink turned into 10. And I carried Bill Graham to his limo, so it was disappointing because you wanted him to be able to stand up with you with the alcohol in those days. It's like one-on-one and
Well, you were probably a good drinker, right? You had a lot
of practice. That because I'm Irish? Is that what you're insinuating?
No, because you're a New Yorker and you probably had a lot of experience going out.
We did a lot of drinking,
Yeah.
a lot of drinking.
Yeah, I know.
My cousin was a VP with Motown Records. So we would go into the city and I was a promoter, but I didn't realize he just passed a couple of years ago. Excuse me. And his friends told me, said, you don't know how many doors Peter had opened for you. But, you saw the movie Goodfellas where they go in through the basement of the Copa and they go in.
Yeah.
We go in through the basement and then we go into a private room that's ours. So it was.
So you were making shit happen even way back then, dude.
I think people were making shit happen for me.
But
I did. But see, I couldn't buy the big acts. All right, they weren't available to me, so I had to be creative and try and do other things. And those other things, I had to force my way into the business. So what would be available to me? So the first thing I did was jazz, right? And I did shows with Dizzy, Stan Getz, Count Basie. And the best lesson I had ever learned in the business came from Basie. Because Basie said to me, we had broken a string. He did 2 sold-out shows. Now, your audience is probably interested in rock and roll, but you have to treat music like a meal, the steak, potatoes, and peas. Once you taste those peas and carrots and the thing that you don't normally eat, all right, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to find like, wow, this is really incredible. And the roots to music, they don't come, rock and roll just didn't appear. It came from someplace. It came from gospel. It came from blues. It came from jazz. So here I am, with the great Bill Basie, and I treated him really well. And this was the biggest lesson I ever got in the music business. So it was the second show. The opening act had broke the string on the piano. And I went to his table. I said, Mr. Basie, he said, call me Bill. I said, the string broke. It's going to take, I had the piano tuner there. I said, we're going to need a half an hour to change the string. And his manager, can we use the F word on this? Manager said, you got a fucking contract Read your fucking writer. He goes on at 8 o'clock and basically said, sit down. I'm going to give you the best lesson you're ever going to get in the music business. He goes, you pay me, right? I said, that's correct. He goes, what does that make me? I said, in theory, that would make you an employee. He goes, every time you promote a show now, you don't disrespect your acts, but you're the boss always. And that's how I move forward in the industry, rather than you don't want to be in awe of people working for you.
Sure. Would you say it's also very important that your reputation is everything when you're a promoter? You know,
that's all you have is your reputation. If you're a shit, if you're a bad guy, if you don't do what you promised to do, right? Make sure that everything is. If you're going to pay someone, don't tell someone I don't have the money at the end of the show. Right? You need to have everything in your pocket before that show ends.
Is being a promoter sometimes also kind of gambling in the sense that
it's a gamble every time you do it?
Because you got to pay these acts. Like they're saying you wanted the Rolling Stones. You got to come up with that money, and then you got to figure out I got to make that money back and then make a profit.
Yeah, but the way we had structured this, I had a big event that we were doing called the Fair, and so I think there were 5 nights of entertainment, and Hofstra University had a field, and we were going to do an HBO special, okay? And all the money that was from the tickets sold would go to a charity, okay? So Sinatra would be Sinatra and Liza Minnelli singing New York, New York.
Oh, wow, it's
okay?
huge.
Billy Joel stood on his own, the Rolling Stones, Pavarotti and the New York Philharmonic. So we had a diversity, and we had these acts. And the thing was, we had to get to the acts, because I never worked with agents and managers. I always dealt directly with the acts. And when I started in the business, my first show that I promoted, I was 15, 16 years old. And I was the president of a confraternity, and we had a hall. And so you call Janis Joplin on the phone. She's like, "Oh, I want $600 a man." I'm like, I'm not spending that. I'm not spending $600 a man. You know, so the whole industry had changed.
It was more personal back then, probably, right?
It was more personal, but you know, you could buy an act for $2,000, $4,000. And I remember, I think it was Bill Graham that was complaining, and I think it was Led Zeppelin, that they were asking for $12,000 to play the Fillmore. That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Wasn't Peter Grant known for that? Like
Bill Graham.
No, Led Zeppelin had a manager, Peter Grant, that was known for like getting the most money for his band. And then they were known for that. Like they were so expensive, but he kicked ass and got shit done.
Yeah, but then it changed. You know, it changed that the promoters weren't making the money. All the promoters were doing was managing the venue. So if you wanted to get tickets to an event, the best tickets were being held by the promoter's office, and you had to pay a premium to get those tickets, right? Because basically, you know, if the Grateful Dead came in and did a show for you, it's a guaranteed sellout. You look at the Billboard charts. I used to get Billboard. You look, they're the #1 selling band in America, right? So what do I need you for? All you have to do is manage, get my sound, get my light, get my, get my hall. And
so at this point, could we talk about now some of the acts you've worked with in the past?
Well, again, I never looked to work with the big acts because I didn't make money off I didn't take risks. I eliminated risk. So when I started working with jazz, I had lost probably $100,000, right? And then that was, I didn't complain about it, right? Because it was a learning experience. So the question that I asked myself is, how do I eliminate any risk in this business? Because the business was risky, and I did it. So what we did was I had a sales force of about 176 people, and we'd pick up a not-for-profit, and in their name, we would sell advertising in a program book. Okay, so a hall that I would gross 46,000 in, I can now gross 2 or 3 million in. Okay, so there was no limit to what I could spend on X. I wasn't confined to that. And I came out of nowhere.
So you basically figured it out on your own, more or less?
Yeah, well, I worked for this guy, Roy Radin. And Radin lived in a 73-room mansion in the Hamptons. And he was doing a vaudeville review. right? And I'm like, but this isn't flying. Again, Georgie Jessel and Donald O'Connor. These were all washed up people. And so the 50s and 60s acts, they were still, those demographics were perfect for me. I wasn't looking for, I wouldn't have violence. There wouldn't be people throwing beer bottles. And, but I worked with a radio station that we ended up doing big stuff. So they had a thing called Party in the Park.
You talking about a Long Island radio station?
Yes.
Was it WBAB or
no, LIR? LIR was the station.
I used to love LIR.
Did you ever hear Party in the Park?
I mean, no, I haven't.
Okay, so Party in the Park were these big shows, all right? And I had the ability to negotiate. So they came to me. I knew the owner. We were in the same building. He said, can you negotiate an outdoor venue? I said, yes. So I went to lunch with the mayor, and I said, I'd like to do an outdoor venue. He took the envelope and said, absolutely. So one of the first shows we did was Joan Jett's first major show. And we had 25,000 people on site, and the New York parkways were shut down, okay, because it was free. You couldn't get to the venue site. They were shut down. It was unbelievable, and people still talk about that today. And then we did a show with Jorma Jakaukanen. You know Jorma.
Tuna, yeah, hot tuna.
Yeah, great guy. So, and that did 25,000, another free concert. And then the last one that I did with them was the Ramones on Long Beach, and that turned into a riot.
Man, it sounds like you went through a lot of stress and anxiety, man.
No,
like,
there's no stress.
Is it good for your blood pressure to be a promoter? Is it like a challenging thing? I mean,
not at all, man. You just walk. No, not at all. If it's a bad event, it's a bad event.
I know, but like once it's done, you have to have people managing all this shit, right? Don't you have to get with police, sanitation? Don't you have to have like security? All that
yeah, but I have divisions in the company. So you handle this, you handle this, you handle this. The only thing I really do is approve things and hire the acts. So, and again, what I do is when I hire the acts, I'm hiring a meal. So there are very few acts. I'm not selling jacked up. I'm selling a seafood festival. My billing doesn't have your name virtually anywhere. Okay. It's the Sarasota, St. Pete's, Tampa Seafood Festival. There may be two acts that will draw a crowd for me. One of them is Deb and the Dynamics. What I need you for is to keep them there drinking, because my economy is a beer economy.
Right.
So I'm not looking for, I have someone that I would get calls and people would call me up and say, Bill, I drew 300 people to this event. I'm like, 300? I need 3,000, dude. I had a funny story. And I don't want anyone to have my phone number because the artist will call you. Oh, Mr. Kenny,
Yeah, I think you yelled at me one time because I gave out your phone number like a couple years ago.
Yeah, don't give out my number. But
I didn't know.
But last year I get a phone call. I'm in the restaurant, and I get a phone call, and this guy says, "I'm looking at 4 gold records, and I'll tell you what, I'll take $1,200." And I said, "You intrusive motherfucker." I said, "How dare you call me? How dare you call me in my personal number and my personal time? This is intrusive." And the guy goes, "Bill, this is the auction house. You wanted to buy those records." I was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry."
That's funny.
Yeah, but I really beat him up. I beat him up worse than that.
Well, you've been known to be a tough guy. I mean, yes, people know that about you, right? You're a tough.
Well, I'm fair, but I hold my own. It's not. I'm not
because
sure
you're from New York and you're Irish. That like you're not a pushover and like.
I'm absolute. Okay. So it's just, I want everything running. It's not a joke. It's not a game. It's a real business. You don't see me on stage waving, look at me. This is not about fame it's a business, and It needs to run like a business.
And the alcohol is a big part of that business.
The alcohol is a big part. The food's a big part.
Hey, another question I have is, do these cities love it when you come? Like, wouldn't the St. Pete want you to be there because you're bringing
St. Pete does want me to be there.
All this tourism?
We're an economic juggernaut for these cities.
Yeah.
So when we pulled out of downtown Sarasota, we had city commissioners calling us. How do we get you back down? You don't.
Yeah, because someone could do the math and figure out exactly how much revenue is being
Well,
generated.
we have done that in the past, and we used to take surveys with the businesses. But I'm in a meeting in St. Pete, and the permitting woman said, "I don't have to sign your permit." And I'm like, "What'd you say? I don't have to sign your permit." I said, "Excuse me." I got up, I put my stuff in the briefcase, and I said, "You need to now tell because I already knew the numbers. You need to now tell the hotel association, which are completely, every hotel on the beach is sold out. You need to tell them
because
why."
People plan to come to.
That's correct.
Because of this stuff.
That's right. So I said, "You need to tell them why I walked out. It's your fault." I get to the door. She goes, "Sit down, Bill." I said, "No, sign the permit right now before I sit down."
You're such a New Yorker, dude.
I am in New York. I'm a thug.
Damn.
I'm a thug, and I've been accused of being a thug.
People actually say that word, thug. I should get you a gold chain that says thug on it, dude.
I've had a local business that opposed me. When I came here, I came out of nowhere. Okay. So everybody's complaining about me. "Oh, I wanted to do a seafood festival. I was going to do this. I was going to do this." People that had some influence, right? But I'm governed. The cities are governed by equal protection. They're governed by laws that allow me to put in these permits and do. They can't play favoritism. And if they do, I threaten them.
So how long have you been doing this in this area, these festivals?
Well, we weren't interested in doing this. We were doing well. We were outside of the area. So I was just doing art festivals.
Because you were doing something in West Hampton. Right?
I still do West Hampton.
Yeah.
But we were doing art festivals. We worked 6 months on, 6 months off. So we were in Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Maryland, New York. We're all over that area. And so we do 6 months on and then 6 months down.
Now, were these mostly art or mostly
They were
seafood?
all art. I was done with the music
But
business.
do you sell a lot of liquor at the arts festivals?
No, not at all. It was they buy booth space, and we developed a good reputation in that end. And we had about 35% of our shows were in the top 100.
So is it profitable for the art festivals? Or
it was okay. It was all right. It was enough for me to live 6 months down here in Harbor Acres, so it was good. And then we were going to do something on Longboat Key, and a competitor of mine, who's number one in the state, came after me, so, but he didn't realize that I was such a thug. So we retooled the business, so to say, and we went after his markets. So we went into his markets. Now I had to be careful because your motive has to be correct. Otherwise, you're gonna lose money. So, but we came up with ideas. We took on a merchants association downtown. We built up their war chest to make them relevant. We gave them a mission, which was called "Charity Begins at Home." We did all this. We wrote the press releases. I knew Bill Bratton, the chief of police from New York City. I called him up. I said, "How do we deal?" Because he had dealt with homeless in Boston, New York, and LA. And I said, "How do I do this? How do we deal with it?" And we basically, what happened, we've now moved from downtown over to Siesta Key. And I'm looking at a cat walking by, just walks by and goes to the next house, and someone's feeding it. I said, "We got to stop feeding them," because they're getting fed at the Salvation Army and the other not-for-profits. So any money, 93% of the money that they were panhandling downtown was going to drugs and alcohol, right? And if you stop giving them that money, right, they're gonna keep walking. And so that was the campaign.
I think Sarasota is a much better place now.
It is. I didn't do it. I mean, it was a campaign that we did.
It worked.
I think it worked at the time. It got some notoriety, but you see someone that wants a sandwich or needs money. What are you going to do? I mean, they're down on their luck. How do you really determine?
Hey, you know what's even worse, man? I lived in Santa Monica, California, and that city welcomes homeless people, and they feed them, and they have programs for them, and it's crazy because
St. Pete did,
the merchants can't stand it.
St. Pete did. We had an art show. They moved me. We do really a good job. We do a great job. So they have a park called Williams Park, and they're like, "Give Williams Park to Kinney. He'll turn it into something." I guarantee that's what happened. So they put me in Williams Park, not just with one event.
You're talking about art now.
we started with art, and then we moved to I don't know, it must have been a seafood festival. So I think we had the Outlaws and Atlanta Rhythm section.
I love the Outlaws.
So we're doing the show, and there's homeless everywhere. And then some truck pulls up and they're feeding them. And some homeless guy, you have affluent people walking through the park.
Yeah, they don't want
some
that
homeless guy is crapping right in front of everybody.
Can't have that.
It's like, oh my God, Bill, the artists were furious with me. So we moved it back downtown. But they feed them up in St. Pete. I don't know. It's probably a not-for-profit organization.
So you're currently doing things from Tampa all the way down to Naples, right? You're doing the whole Florida Gulf Coast.
Right. We did have about 52 events. I'm already tired. I'm tired just of looking at my schedule for next year. I'm an old man.
It's daunting. Do you have a staff?
Yeah, we do. We do. We have bar manager, and we have an event manager, and someone that just does the permits, someone that does logistics.
Is it getting bigger every year?
No, we downsized it. It was right after COVID, after my wife died, we had 52 events. And what happens, the staff is, come Monday, they're working their tails off. So come Monday, they're like, Bill, you can't do this next season. You can't do this, all right? You can't.
But isn't there a lot of money? Isn't people making money? I mean, isn't it profitable for everybody?
It's not a lot of money. Okay, it's not, don't be confused. It's not a lot of money because there's not a lot of risk. So and there's a story to go along with this. So there was a big, no, I'm not going to mention who this is, but there was a big local promoter. People took notice of me pretty early on. And I had a big promoter call me up because they wanted to get involved with what I was doing. And I went to, he said, I took Twinkle and Tony with me and my wife.
They were on the show.
Right. So they said, Bill, come on up. We want to show you what we're doing. They had trailers. They had an enormous stage. They had all this stuff. And he said, you know what our stage cost? I said, 125 to 150. He goes, 125. He goes, look at the acts we have. I said, now, again, I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to lead back. So I said, well, your one act has liver problems. They're canceling. I said, then Sunday, you have a 100% chance of rain, and you have a national act. I said, right now, you're going to lose a minimum of $500,000. He said, you're right. And they lost $500,000 and went bankrupt.
Damn.
Okay, so if I lose, we're geared to lose. Okay, not that we want to lose, but it's written into the plan for the season. So we know that we're going to lose something to win.
So you're watching the weather very carefully during these festivals.
We do weather analyses, right? We know, yes, we watch it very seriously. We have a lot of serious apps. We're tied into the airports and the yacht clubs. We have 7 apps that we use. There are times that we've been up 24 hours, literally 24 hours, just watching what's coming through. And we have to do that for numerous reasons, to protect the property of the people that are in our shows, the vendors, and for public safety. And the number one thing that you need to take into consideration when doing an event is public safety.
Yeah, lightning, hurricanes.
Lightning, hurricanes. Well, hurricanes give us warning.
So I guess a good question would be, other than this, what are some challenges that your promoters face? I mean, weather obviously is a big one.
Right now they have different challenges. There are really serious challenges happening. So as a result, and I don't want to make this political, but as of January 1, tourism had dropped substantially. So we noticed we had a drop of 30%.
So you talk about tourism here in Florida?
Oh, right here. Yes, in Florida.
So I'm under the impression that things are picking up again.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Go drive to St. Armand's. Go drive on the Barrier Islands. So the Barrier Islands, so we I work with a social media company that represents a lot of people locally, and a lot of tourist-based businesses.
Is his initials SC?
SC. I don't know who's SC.
Sandy Kaplan?
No. Sandy doesn't handle my. He does my.
Sandy was on the show. He's a great guy.
Yeah, Sandy's a great guy. I love Sandy.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, that's okay. But so I asked her. I said, in your travels, take a look at businesses that are and ask them what they're off. And everyone's off 30%.
Yeah, because they can tell by the hotels, by the airport. Like there's indexes that can tell how things are going.
Right. Well, first we thought it may have been hurricane related.
Oh, remember that red tide shit? How horrible was that? Tide. That was horrible.
Well, we had red tide, and we had we had red tide, and we were over in Siesta Key once, but it didn't. But it just disappeared. We came in, it was gone. But I don't think it's the red tide that's smelly. I think it's the tens and tens of thousands of dead fish.
Well, they died somehow. They died because they were suffocated. Because of the corona. Is the name of it? It's a bacteria that blossoms.
Yes, it's because we're dumping stuff
nasty,
in the
sugar or some shit.
Yeah,
that's funny. Well, look, what do you see the future, man? Like, do you think it's? I think that we're still in paradise here. I don't want to go back to New York. I think I'm living in the greatest possible place. Sarasota, Siesta Key, there's nothing better than that. And I think that people still from around the world want to come here.
No, they don't. Not from around the world.
They want to spend their money. No,
it's not true. No. The European Union had issued a travel advisory to the United States. We're taking all this into consideration moving into the season. Also, we're now listed on the human rights violation.
Really? Damn.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're really on top of shit.
We need to be. We need to know what are the obstacles, like the weather, what's going to impact us going into next season. So we're making adjustments now. Another question is, didn't you win an award recently? Like, aren't your festivals award-winning festivals like your no? Oh, yeah. No, we just had Newsweek. We got nominated in Newsweek. And then we won 2 local ones here. SRQ magazine and Sarasota magazine. I think we won in 2 different categories. And then last year, my St. Petersburg show won number 9 nationally for the best art show with USA Today. That's impressive. Well, it's national stuff. So, and again, this works great. The communities are very happy because we're an economic input for them. And if you're going to do an event, a city shouldn't give up their streets unless you're going to contribute back to the city somehow. How come you never got involved with New Year's Eve? Is that not something? I did. I worked it 2 years. Did you not? Was that a good thing for you? Or I don't want any part of it. Is it a zoo? Is it too? I don't want any part of it. You got someone that got shot in the pizzeria. You got someone that got thrown through a window. You got fist fights. That's not my audience. My demographics are 52 and older. It's very specific. So I did work with them on New Year's Eve for 2 years. And again, I want no part of it. Someone else can have it. So what would you say, what's your definition of a successful event? One that doesn't lose money. Okay, that's the most important one. Is there opportunities for you to gauge, maybe like survey your people and find out what's appealing to them? Like, for an example, I'm in advertising, so I look at festivals as upscale events where people that have disposable income will go. Therefore, you can pitch advertisers and say, look, maybe we put a Mercedes-Benz on site. Maybe you have something that's appealing to some of these wealthy men and women that are going to be walking through here. Well, we don't go out and we don't try and harvest sponsors. If you want to sponsor our event, you go onto the website, you put an application in, excuse me, and we'll let you know if we're interested in you. Great question. What about a vendor? What if a vendor wants to come to your festival? Is it the same process? They go onto the website, they put it in. Actually, they don't. They go into, we have an application process. It's called Zapplication, Zapplication. They go on, they upload their images and the picture of their booth, so we know what they're selling and what they look like. And we actually, in the art shows, we do fine art. So we want to make sure it's not buy and sell work. Okay, because people buy stuff in China and pretend that they made it here. We don't want that. Okay, so we have people on staff that we do image search on Google, and we'll search an image that they have. And once we see that there's other opportunities to buy that product, we'll eliminate them. We'll tell them you don't.
So some of these artists must be like top shelf. Like
they're only the best.
You're talking about big pieces that go for a lot of money, right?
100,000,
wow,
10,000. But this is that community. We have disposable income,
right? As I'm assuming West Hampton as well, right?
West Hampton's enormous. So that show has been in the top 100 over 10 times, 10 years in a row. I think we've been there.
What advice can you give musicians that are listening to the show that might be interested in trying to get their act, their band to perform at one of these events?
Yeah, don't send us anything because we're getting 25 to 50 electronic press kits a day. The best thing to do is if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
So recommendations are huge.
That's the only way like I'll get a call from, like, let's say maybe you say, Bill, you got to check this man out. They're unbelievable. Okay, so they've already been vetted. Yeah. Right. I can't go in there and listen to 50 people a day. There's not enough time. And right now we have our stable of artists. Right. So it's like, you look forward to doing the show. So if I did a show and didn't include you, I put someone else in there, and you've invested time with us over the years.
I get sad sometimes.
You get sad. You've already cried on the phone.
I did, but we enjoy playing your seafood festival. I know you do. But I want to tell the audience why. First of all, the stage is phenomenal. It's a professional stage. Your sound person, can I say her name?
Yeah, sure.
Ray is probably the best sound person that any musician that's been on my show will say that they've worked with. She's perfect. She knows exactly what she's doing. She makes us sound like the freaking Who, dude.
Yeah, we fired a couple of musicians, bands. I think two. And one of them was like, my sound person doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm an idiot, right? You don't know what you're doing. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Do you ever fire somebody on the spot and say, like, get your shit and get out of here?
Yeah, we had. Actually, there's a great story. So there's an agency out of Tampa, and I wanted to go with beach stuff. I wanted the Beach Boys, and Beach Boys are all about harmony, right? So, do you remember my sound guy? My sound guy was Mitch.
Was he like a British guy?
Yeah, the British guy, but I think he worked for Pink Floyd for 25 years.
Yeah, he was always like, he was like a time Nazi guy.
Oh, yeah, he was a Nazi, man. Yeah. He was a Nazi behind the stage. Yeah. He was screaming at everybody. Yeah. But he ran a good backstage.
No, he was a pro.
Yeah, so I'm in the bus, and I'm like, what the hell is that? The Beach Boys are on. I'm like, what the hell is that? I leave the bus. I go out, and my people are leaving. They're in droves. The band is so bad. This guy calls me, Bill, it's the best Beach Boys band you've ever heard in your whole life. Okay, so I grabbed Mitch. I said, come here. Go up, stop the band right away. Tell them that you just got an alert on your phone that the biggest electrical storm in the state of Florida is coming through, and they need to pack up and get out of here immediately, and pay them and get them out.
Wow. Just pay him to get him off the stage, man.
We paid him to get him off the stage. Damn. So that was the one time that we did that.
Now, what about the opposite? Have you ever had a band and all of a sudden you were just impressed? Like, oh, shit, these guys are great.
Oh, all the time. There's guys that, Greg Roy. Have you seen Greg Roy?
No.
Reggae guy out of St. Pete.
Wait a minute. I did see that guy.
He's on his way. There's a guy that's on his way. He's going to appreciate me talking about him.
No, because you came up to me at that show and you pointed out that these are the best reggae band in the area.
In the area, yeah. On the coast. And Greg, so I want to really kick my reggae festival up. And
but are there enough reggae bands to do a reggae festival?
Well, I have to do an attorney that I worked with in New York. I think he's instrumental, and he represents one of the biggest artists in the industry. Okay, it was a headliner, I think, last year at Reggae Rise Up, and he can help access stuff for me. But I want to take it. I want to bring it a step. I don't want to do Reggae Rise Up, but I want to do something up there. So I was telling Greg Roy, I said, look, I want to build this and this. I want to get Third World. He said, Bill, Third World was already at your show. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, they backed me up and they want to talk to you. I'm like, I've been trying to get in touch with them for 2 years. Wow. Right. So we're now looking at people like Third World. I don't know who else. There's a bunch of guys.
Here's a good question. What's more profitable for you as a promoter? A blues festival?
We don't do
a
blues.
reggae,
Blues
classic
is over.
rock.
Classic rock is where it is, but I don't have, like, I don't put in, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we don't do country. Okay. Country's a different demographic completely. So we had Dodge Ram call up, offer me $30,000 to sponsor. I said, my automobile sponsors, when we have them, are Rolls Royce, Aston Martin, Bentley, McLaren, Range Rover, Cadillac.
As they should be.
As they should be, because that's what we want. Those are the
Upscale.
people going to spend money at the shows. And I'm not going to complain about a $7 beer.
Right.
But if I have Dodge Ram there, that's not my demographics.
You're right.
You know, and that's not what I'm looking
So,
for.
but you do manage to have at least one country act in
No.
there. No, but you've had one at
country
rodeo?
rock.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess I see your point.
Yeah, we have country rock. But again, that's peas and potatoes for me, or peas and carrots. So people listen to it, they're like, oh, God, this is great.
You know, when we play, especially Punta Gorda, and I look out in the audience, I see nothing but classic rock fans, dude. People love the classic rock.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in Charlotte County for some reason.
Yeah, we
More
don't
so
play
than Sarasota.
Charlotte. We don't play Charlotte City. I mean, Twisted Fork has it. They do great over there, but we did the fairgrounds twice across the street. That's not for us.
No, but Lashley Park's perfect.
Lashley Park is a great
We
great
love it
venue,
there.
but it was better when we had it. There was a space, right? It was a mall that they had torn down, and we had the event there, and it was the biggest event we probably ever had. Because people driving by on both sides, you know, I think it was 41 North and 41 South. They were driving by our event, and they were pulling in droves.
You know, do you still do Naples? Because one time you had us all the way down in Naples.
Well, we did Naples.
And it was the hottest day of the year, too. It was insane.
What happened now is the city of Naples just permitted us to do right in the city, like by Fifth Avenue. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. They don't give permits out to people.
That's awesome.
Yes. So we're very excited about
Suki
that.
Honeycutt and that other dude, they run Fifth Street or some shit, a bunch of people.
I don't know who runs.
Yeah. It's like a little mafia of Naples people.
Yeah, they do have like a mafia,
Yeah.
but
I used to deal with them.
But we're dealing with the city. So,
But the city has to deal with them too. Trust me.
Yeah, I don't think
they-
so. I don't think they care. We spoke to the city. They don't really care. They don't want to be bullied. But they want events. They want powerful events.
As they should. Bonita Springs was cool. You had something there near the racetrack.
Bonita Springs. Well, they're all good. If they're not good, we're not going
Fort
back.
Myers now is like downtown.
Well,
You got that beautiful new hotel was there, right?
Yeah, but we moved. No, we're not downtown. We're in a park over there now, which is the biggest event we probably ever had, next to St. Pete last year. St. Pete was huge.
Which park in Fort Myers? Centennial?
Yeah, is that Centennial Park there? It was huge.
Cool.
The mayor comes down, hangs out in the bus with us, gets up and says a few words. And it was a sea of people. They were waiting. There was like 25 people in line at each food vendor.
Wow. That's phenomenal. And I'm glad to see that you're back at Coquina, right?
Yeah, Coquina. I
love
really
Coquina.
have to. Manatee County has been absolutely incredible to work with. Incredible. So we went down there and I said I need this, this, and this, and then a manager said you can't have it, and then a supervisor goes, yeah, you can. We want the event. They want events.
Because you think that particular person has the brain power to say, wait a minute, we want this guy, Bill Kinney, because of all the money he's going to bring in.
Yes.
Right?
That's exactly right.
But when you pitch these guys.
But they're willing to accommodate me. So a lot of places like, I don't care. I had people in Sarasota. How do we get you back downtown? Well, do this, this, and this. That'll get me back down. Well, they haven't done any of that. But Manatee is really pro event now. And they have that GT Bray Park, right? And they said, try it. We tried it, because the hurricane had happened. And it was okay. It wasn't a home run.
One year I went to see you in Bradenton. It was the Riverwalk.
Oh God, that was terrible.
You were set up there.
Yeah, it was jammed. It was jammed.
Yeah.
They didn't spend any money. Everyone came in with coolers.
Speaking of jam, one time you were in Inglewood, dude, and you were like in a parking lot that was fenced in.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
that?
yeah. We can't use that anymore. We're not going downtown anymore.
But that park is perfect though, because they have a band shell there, don't they?
Yeah,
Pioneer Park, is that what it's called?
Yeah, but they have new people there, and they were just, I had I don't know, everything was, they just nitpick over everything. I said, we're not doing this anymore. We're done. And it turns out we were told by Budweiser it was the biggest event Inglewood ever had. So I called up, I knew someone in the Elks Club. I said, would you like to have, yep, absolutely. We want you here.
So I'm assuming that you have minimum space requirements. Like you can't do a successful festival unless they have X amount of space.
Well, we got to be able to move. But
parking, they have to be able to
but that
somewhere.
park was planned out. So I don't know what they were thinking when they did that park. They lost valuable space. There's no mobility inside.
There's no place to park around there, dude.
There's no place to park. It was poor planning. That park was poor planning. Did you see how crowded it was? Did you play it this year?
No, but I was there in attendance. I saw
Okay,
it.
you saw how crowded it was.
Yeah.
It was insane. You couldn't move. People couldn't get to the bar.
But the fans love it, dude. The people love your festivals. I mean, they look forward to it. They love to go there. They drink beer and they...
I hope so.
Yeah, man. I've never heard anybody complain. I mean, I'm sure there's some lady that lives next door in a house that's complaining to the cops that you're too loud, right? There's always one of those people, right?
Yeah, but that's we were getting that downtown. There were 5 people, the same people. You know, we had one woman that came down and said she had a decibel meter, and I said, "Where's the meter? Can I see it?" And she showed me a phone. I said, "That's not a decibel meter. It needs to be calibrated."
It's a gadget, yeah.
Right. And I said, it needs to be calibrated.
It looks like something from the Jetsons.
Well, that's what we do. So we have our own. And then we call the police. We call the police and we ask them to stand in front of every condo and hold up the decibel meter. And we take photographs so that we're in compliance. So when the city, so now this becomes public record. So when the city gets a phone call, oh, they were over 100 decibels. What building do you live in? That building? Okay.
So is it safe to say you pretty much thought of everything because you've done this for so long that you know
I think we have this,
Has anything ever surprised you yet? Like, is there any crazy stories you could tell or any shocking?
Shocking? No, I don't think we allow shocking things at our events. I don't know.
You always seem
to think of any shocking story? No,
you always seem to have such a good, polite crowd. You know, like everybody sits there, they clap. I've never seen a fight. I've never seen anybody get arrested. And you might have one kid pass out once in a while, right? I mean,
well, we don't let them get drunk. So if someone, if someone is over intoxicated at our events, we ask the police to give them a pat down, and they always find a bottle. But we do searches before they come in, so they're not going to be overserved at our event. But like water containers, 30% of those contain alcohol, so we don't let them in. They
self-medicate these kids. Hey, you know what drives you crazy?
But I'm not dealing with kids. I'm dealing with the mature adults.
You know what I've seen you get crazy about? I've seen it drive you crazy. People come in and bring in waters and they bring in things and that drives you crazy, doesn't it?
Well, it drives me crazy because I'm doing a free event. And when I walk up to them, they go, "It's only water." And I said, all I'm asking you to do is buy a water from me for $3 because I paid for all of this.
Does your water say Paragon Festivals on it?
Yes, it
That's
does.
Smart.
With a red band on the top.
Nice.
So when we walk through, we can see that it's ours.
So I want to say thank you because you gave my band a chance, dude. You didn't even know who the hell we were. And I got through to you and I said, could you put us on? This is years ago. And you put us on, man. You gave us our first shot, Jacked Up.
Not from a phone call. It had to be from someone else.
Somebody might have said some nice things about us, but I did try to call you like most aggressive salespeople. And I did try to email you. I think I even put something in your mailbox once at your house or some shit.
Well, I hope you didn't. We had someone come by the house. You know, my daughter's like, someone just came through the gate. You know, I live in a private community. They just came through your gate, and
you have a gun at that point. You just pull that shit.
No, she said, "Do not answer the door." And they left. Like, what are you doing? You coming to my house, man? Are you out of your mind?
So that's why we're telling people on this show not to do those things.
No, don't do those things. Don't even call me, please. I'll be rude to you. If you have my cell number, unless you're someone I know, don't call me. But you know who gets calls for me? David Lay. And
I love
Scott,
David Lay.
And Scott has, people go to Scott and say, Bill Kinney. And Scott, I think is, from 88 Live.
Yeah, I know Scott Elliott.
Yeah, great guy.
And his wife's fantastic.
Oh, she's a doll. She's a doll. Yeah, she really is. She wanted to set me up.
Yeah. My band's going to play there soon. It's air conditioned, which is fantastic.
It is. But I put together a buying consortium. So Dean from Big Top is in it.
I know Dean.
Yeah, everyone knows Dean. Tony from Inglewood's on Dearborn.
The German Austrian dude.
Yes, and myself, and I think Scott is going to join. So we buy, if we have an act coming through, we'll buy collectively to save money.
Smart.
Right. So you don't have one gig. You got 4 gigs.
Like it. I like that.
So rather than charge $1,600, we'll make an offer at 12, and I can take I can do a Saturday at 2:00, and then they can do a double.
Do you deal with like companies that represent a lot of bands, and they'll say we're going to give you these? Like, how does that all work?
We do. But the agents don't work for me. I mean, I put an offer in the other day, and we started negotiating, and the agent was like, "All right, we're done." I'm not going to tell you the act I called, but it was a big agency. But the way it's supposed to work, the way it used to work, I mean, I got good agent stories. I got great agent stories.
You want to share one real quick?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 good ones. There was an act in well, actually, there was a big act I wanted in New York, a jazz act, and they wanted this amount of money. And I told the agent, I said, I heard that they were accepting this amount. He goes, that will never happen, especially for you. Ooh, I said, okay.
Made it personal.
So I sent my assistant or my secretary, back then we called them secretaries, in the office with an envelope. And I said, go in the office and have him call me. And he called me. I said, open the envelope up. And I said, look at what's in the envelope. And I said, now I'm making that offer again. And he said,
cash is king, bro.
Cash is king. And then there was another one. I was doing a show. And this agency was like the biggest acts in New York. You know who they are. These are
New York Dolls?
No. This was like the older, like it wasn't him, but it was like Jay and the Americans type of act. You remember Jay and the Americans? No? Johnny Maestro on the Brooklyn Bridge. You don't remember these guys? These are the biggest New York acts. Okay. So I'm doing a show at the Calderon Concert Hall, a double show. And I have Don Imus is emceeing, and I have all the biggest acts in the area. And the agent called up and said, if you're only buying my cream, okay, so you're not getting the cream unless you buy these other 2 acts. Which
that's his right to do that, because he
no,
does
it's
have
not his right.
No, but don't they have to package these guys up?
No, he's not packaging them. He's extorting me.
Oh,
okay. Right. So I said, I'm going to report you to the state, and I'm going to have your license challenged. I said, I got a better idea than that. I want to meet you tomorrow. I'm coming in the office, and we'll work this whole thing out. And on my way in, I stopped in Brooklyn and grabbed 2 union guys that I knew in Bensonhurst. And we went in. I walked in the office, and I said, I'm going to wait outside while they negotiate with you. And I went outside and closed the door behind me. When the door opened up, he called me a name. I said, well, do we have a deal? He goes, I don't have a choice.
Dude, that's thug activity, though. That's thug.
That's
activity.
Real thug.
So you said something earlier that how was the mafia, like how was the mob involved with this stuff? Like
well, the mob was, it was...
I mean, were their hands that deep that they had to go into like...
Absolutely. So I had a meeting with, Michael Franchese, which you see all over the internet now, right?
The guy's a celebrity.
Yeah, he's a celebrity now. I mean, he was a capo.
But he was supposedly the smartest mafia
He was.
guy.
But Michael said to me he needed something, and someone I knew said, Michael wants to meet you. He needs a contract that we had. And so I went and I met him, and he said, what can I do? Can I give you a Jackson 5 tour date at Nassau Coliseum? I'm like, this guy's full of shit. This is all bullshit. So he goes, what can I do for you? I said, well, you have one of the major agents to help me out. Can you do that? He goes, yeah. So I'm at Majik in VIP. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know where I am. I don't know how this even happened. And the maitre d' in VIP comes up to me. He goes, someone like to see you. And this fellow walks up to me. It was Norby Walters. Type in Norby's name. I mean, he was one of the biggest agents in New York. He said, Bill Kinney? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm Norby Walters. I'm like, wow. And then you see Norby was involved with them. And when I said I thought he was full of crap with the Jackson, with the Jackson 5 tour, it was, what was that tour called? I forget the name of it. But there's this boxing thing going on in New York, and Don King is approached by an FBI agent. I read this in the paper, and he said, I can't make a decision without checking with Michael Franchise on this deal. Right. Next thing I know, Don King is the one promoting the Jackson 5 tour. So obviously they were involved.
Sure.
You know, but you know, the money, the royalties, all this stuff. These artists never saw their money from the 50s and 60s. They signed over. They didn't know. They signed their publishing over. They signed royalties over. They split money, like co-writing. They didn't write a song.
Jeez.
You know, if you have one hit now, that will cover you for the rest of your life.
Sure.
You know?
Well, the Billy Joel special, we were talking about that in the green room. It's a 2-parter on HBO, and I recommend everybody listening to go see that.
It's a great story,
he's so New York, that guy. I think of Billy Joel, I think of New York.
Billy's a great guy.
Have you ever met Billy Joel?
I know Billy Joel. Okay, so she's setting up the stories I can't tell. But yeah, I'm not going to say this was Billy Joel, but I had become a photographer, and a fairly famous photographer. I didn't want to be in business anymore promoting, and my wife was a designer. And when the Hamptons opened up, that was my stomping ground, over the Hamptons in New York. So when the season opened up, Elaine Benson, which was a famous gallery. Elaine Benson was a famous gallery in the Hamptons, and everyone would be there if you were anybody. So fortunately, but I never subscribed to this stuff. So I never went to the parties or dinner. This was the only thing that we really went to. And so this very popular artist said, do me a favor, go take a picture of my boat. And he gave me the name of the boat and the location. And we're talking a little bit. And he said, I'll see you later. So wait a second. I asked my wife for a pen. And I took a business card out and I wrote my ex-wife's address on it. He goes, what's this? I said, that's where you're going to go perform for my daughter's Sweet 16. And I'm just staring at him in the eyes. And he goes, are you serious? I said, dude, life's fucking relative. I said, why should I do something for free for you when you won't do something for free for me? And he goes, you're absolutely right. So now a week goes by and my wife is getting dressed to go to a luncheon, right, in the Hamptons. And I said, I'll drive you. I'll go with you. She goes, no, you can't go. You can't go. You know, I'm like, I said, why not? I said, I'll go. I'll take you. She goes, you can't go. I said, why not? She goes, I got the design job for that artist. She goes, he's not going to be happy if you show up. I'm like, oh, okay. No, you're absolutely right.
So, Bill, as we wrap up, man, so you've learned a lot, right? You know, what is some advice that you would give to other people that want to become promoters, or maybe they already are promoters? What are some tidbits of advice that you can give out?
Go to medical school. Stay in school. Yeah, if you don't have, you have to be a warrior in this business. You really can't be. You got to be able to dust that stuff right off. If you lose, you don't take it personal. You walk away.
There's confrontations. There's probably a lot of negotiating. You got to have a thick skin to be a promoter.
You have to be pretty absolute. You know, like when I negotiate with an act, I will have acts that get through to me that I want to work with. And I'll say, what's your number? And I'll tell them, be real careful, because if you want to work with me, and I'm offering possibly 10, 15 gigs. If you want to work with me, give me a number that represents that repetitiveness, right? And that exposure. And sometimes they hit me with these crazy numbers, and I said, I thank you so much for calling, and I hang up.
Yeah. So I was going to ask for a raise, but I probably should at this point.
I think you did. Not this year. I'm looking for decreases from my artists.
So how can people find out more about Paragon? Is it there's a website?
They go to PARAGONFestivals.com.
Okay. So Paragon Festivals, that will list all the dates, right?
Or list everything on
And
there.
then as it gets closer, you start putting the acts up, the actual acts.
Yeah.
And everything's a different fish. I noticed that. You have a different fish for every.
Well, we did. We had our own designer, Ed Hendricks, who was great. And Ed ended up with cancer and passed away, and we had to get a new designer. But Ed he gave Paragon the look.
No, it's definitely a very professional look. What does the future hold for Paragon? Or for you, I should say.
topless Tahitian women and a margarita in my hand. I would hope, yeah.
So
Yeah,
you see yourself on a beach, maybe in some different location?
I don't know. I wouldn't
Is it
mind
safe to say that you're looking to get out of the game, or you got a couple years left
I
in the
really
game?
can't get out. It's, you know, it's like, you know, that line, once you get out, they pull you back in.
Godfather.
Yeah, there's no getting out of it.
But that means you love it, though, Bill. That means you must love it. Like,
It's
even though
a job.
it's a hard job, right?
It's a hard job,
But
but
you
it's
love
a job. It's a real job. It's not, you don't see me on stage going, look at me, look at me. It's like, we're always working, always looking for detail, always making sure that that our customers are safe, always making sure that everything is fluid, you know. So it's exhausting. They have my staff. We have a big mobile home, and there's a very comfortable lounge chair in there. And when I'm not available, when you don't see me, I'm sleeping in that chair. The staff goes, Bill's doing paperwork.
To get some R&R. Hey, so what do you do when you're downtime? Like those few months that you're not doing stuff.
Well,
like,
right
what do
now,
you do with yourself? Are you playing golf? Are you
I
traveling?
don't play golf. I fish. So this week we went down to Key West and I did the memorial, and then Barry. It's funny because my world is basically the people that work with us. We're all. It's all about us.
Is it a work family?
Yeah, it is a work family. It's almost. Some of the staff describes it as a cult because they're so dedicated to. It's almost like a MAGA.
Is
cult.
it safe to say that they're loyal to you as the boss?
I'm not saying they're loyal to me. They're loyal to Paragon. It's not about me. It's about the company. So when I don't have to worry about anything. So they want that presentation. My bar manager, Kathy, she's looking at detail. I'll walk through if I see something, you know. I'll say, hey, let's move that. Let's get this, you know, showtime's in a minute.
So is it safe to say you hire the right people and you put them in the right places?
No, we hired from within. So they worked their way into those positions. You know, so Kathy started as a bar manager. David was a bar manager. Now he's the event manager.
So Bill, in these final minutes, is there anything else that you want to, anyone you want to give a shout out to or say?
Well, all the great musicians that we work with, you know, David, you, Dana, Twinkle. I mean, they're a part of the family. The best of the best. Yeah. I love Dana Lawrence. He's a great guy. Great guy. Billy Rice, we mentioned him. Oh, Billy. Twinkle and Tony, class people. Yeah. But you know something, the problem when you're doing that is you're going to leave somebody out, and it's all of them. You're right. I'm not Paragon. Paragon is a village. It takes a village to do what we do. And it's the musicians that contribute and the staff. And when you go to an event, you're excited about being at a festival. It's not a club. You don't have 100 people there or 200 people there. You have thousands of people that are there to see you. Well, I appreciate that Jacked Up is one of your legacy bands. So thank you for that. You're very welcome. So the next festival is coming up. Is it, when's the next one? Is it going to be December or January this year? No, we're not doing anything because everything has been, all room reservations have been canceled. We're concerned about preseason. We're starting January 1. Okay, great. So people should go to the website, get the dates, figure out where they want to be, and make their travel plans now if they haven't already. So with that, we're going to end. So Bill, thank you very much for coming in. Thank you. It's my pleasure. And we'll see you soon. Okay. I hope it was a good interview. It was. Very good. Thank you.